Have you been laid off recently? If so, don't get stressed out because in today's video, I'm going to walk you through the steps of what to do next in the proper order, which will be crucial. I'll also provide tips and what to look out for in the severance agreement before you sign, so be sure to stick around for that. As a former HR leader, I've led RIFs and can empathize with the people on the receiving end. Now, as a career wellness coach, I share practical strategies and insights to help people like yourself have an upper hand in dealing with corporate. So the first thing I want you to do is to take a look at your severance agreement and see how much time you have to review, sign, and submit. Give yourself a few days buffer and make a note on the calendar. At this point in time, I don't want you to do anything else. I don't want you to look through the agreement. I don't want you to talk to recruiters or start networking. And I'll tell you why in a minute. You are not in the right frame of mind. You're going on a roller coaster of emotions right now and in a state of shock, surprised at what happened, and probably asking yourself, why me? You may even be comparing yourself to your colleagues, thinking, I'm more qualified and have more experience than these individuals, so why did I get let go? It doesn't make you a bad person for thinking that. It's part of the process. The second state that you're going to fall into is a state of sadness and depression. This is what we call the grieving stage for the loss of your job. And if you're like many, your life revolves around your job. And for most, you may identify yourself with your job title. And if that's the case, you're going to feel lost and stuck during this time. And I've created a separate video about it, so I'll link that in the description box below. The third state is going to be shame and embarrassment. You're going to feel ashamed to talk about it with your friends and family. And that's okay. I cannot emphasize enough. This doesn't make you less of a person. You are still more than competent. And if you're not ready to talk about it, don't. You don't owe an explanation to anyone. The fourth state is going to be anger, and for some of you, betrayal, especially for those who have been with the same employer for extensive years. You've been so loyal to the same employer. You've passed up other opportunities, and this is how they repay you. Is probably what you're thinking. Allow yourself to go through each of these stages. Process these emotions, and then dig in deeper. I worked with someone several months ago who went through something similar. And she had been with the same employer for nearly 2 decades. 2 decades, that's a long time. She had secured every license one could obtain in the financial industry and worked her way up the corporate ladder. And the company she worked for had a massive layoff, and unfortunately her position was impacted. She didn't know what to do and reached out to me. And as we talked through each of these stages, we dug in a little deeper. And at the end, she felt a sense of relief. As we talked about it more, she finally admitted that she was stressed and burned out with her last position. She had wanted to make a change, but never dealt with it because she could do her job in her sleep. She had done it for so many years, and she was good at it. But she was stressed and burned out. And she stuck with it because it was easy for her and it paid the bills. She was operating on autopilot. And this was a kick in her butt to make a change. Now, I want to talk about your emotions for a moment. Your emotions is an indicator from your body, mind, and soul of communicating with you. It's a sign. It's a signal. Whatever emotions are coming up for you. Now, this may be a cliche you don't want to hear, but I do truly believe that everything happens for a reason. And this could be a sign for you to make some type of change. Perhaps you've been at the same company for too long. Maybe it's a toxic environment. Maybe you're not appreciated, undervalued. Whatever the case may be, and whatever faith you believe in, whether it's God or the universe, it could be a sign for you to make a change. But I want you to manage your emotions, rein them in, and dig in deeper. Interpret those emotions. Now, this is not the time to be networking or talking to recruiters, and I'll tell you why. You're on this roller coaster of emotions. You're in a vulnerable state. You don't want anyone to take advantage of you at this point. Now, you may even be saying, well, Emily, I have to pay the bills. And perhaps, maybe I can reach out to my friends who are in the corporate world and they can connect me to their professional network. No, you're not ready for that yet. Your friends are going to be the most critical of them all. Why? Because you may be talking to them as a friend, expressing your emotions, but if you're seeking help, guidance, and you're asking them to connect you to their professional network, they're seeing you as a colleague at that point. You may be venting out to them as a friend, but they don't want to taint their reputation. They may be saying, well, Emily's so angry right now, she can't even manage her emotions. I'm not going to put her in front of my manager or my colleagues. So you're not quite ready to do that yet. And I'll tell you when it is. There are some steps that I want you to do before you start networking. Now, we're going to talk about the severance agreement. The standard severance package is 1 to 2 weeks for every year of service. And if you're on the company's existing medical plan, most companies will provide you additional funding to help you with COBRA costs or medical plan expenses. It doesn't necessarily restrict you to proceed with the company's medical plan. They're just providing some financial assistance. So now's the opportunity to review other medical plans. If you're married, take a look at your spouse's medical plan. In some states, take a look at your partner's medical plan and see what's best for you and your family. This is considered a life event. So even though it's after open enrollment, you can make changes to your medical plan. Now, one thing that most people don't realize is they think that the severance package is take it or leave it. It is not. You can negotiate your severance package. Now, if you've been with a company for less than a year, probably not. But if you've been with a company for an extensive period of time, or there were extenuating circumstances when you were hired, you can probably negotiate. I would encourage you to negotiate. In the US, for my colleagues that are 40 or older, you should have at least 21 days to review the severance agreement and a 7-day revocation period to cancel the agreement from the time that you signed. This ensures that you have thoroughly read through everything, and once you sign off on that severance agreement, you're waiving any age discrimination claims against the company. So I encourage for my colleagues that are 40 years or older and who have been with the company for an extensive period of time, if you are not getting 1 to 2 weeks for every year of service in terms of severance, negotiate, negotiate, negotiate. One additional thing that I'd like to add is that if you're 40 years or older, there should be an additional document stating the job titles of the positions that were impacted and the ages of those individuals that were impacted for disclosure. There is also typically a clause in the severance agreement that states the reason for your release, whether it's restructuring, reorganization, position elimination, whatever terminology the company decides to use. You can typically request the employer to include another clause in there about not disclosing the reason for your release. And most employers will honor that request because when it comes to employment verifications, most employers only disclose job titles and employment dates. They prefer not to go into too much detail about anything else because they don't want to be held legally liable for slander. And for peace of mind, it's better to have that clause in the severance agreement because you can then better manage and control your narrative for prospective employers. Not that you're going to lie or anything, but again, it just provides you with that additional buffer. Now that we've gotten the severance agreement out of the way, these are the things to do before you start networking. And I want to emphasize before you start networking. Have a clear focus and direction. Decide what it is that you want to do. Do you want to continue with the same profession? If so, great. If not, do your research. Talk to people who are currently in the role that you wish to pursue. Weigh out the pros and cons. The second is to rebuild your confidence. No matter how much confidence you have, involuntary terminations always take a hit to the ego. They will lower your self-esteem. So how do you rebuild your confidence? Surround yourself with supportive people. Talk to them, spend time with them, and distance yourself from those people who are negative. The third thing is to update your resume and LinkedIn profile. They should be consistent and in alignment. If not, there's going to be a disconnect and people will start questioning your skills. In today's day and age, your LinkedIn profile is equally or if not more important than your resume. It's the first thing people look at. So make sure you have an updated profile pic. Make sure the information on your profile is up to date and get it out there. Then finally, be prepared to share your story. You should be able to recite this in your sleep. I always advise to have 2. One really tight, brief one, and another that is going to be a little more detailed for those who want to hear it. And then finally, you are going to be ready to network. One of the things that I have seen over the last couple of weeks is people posting generic messages out there. I'm open to new opportunities. If you'd like to reconnect, please DM me. And you see them and you see responses, but people don't remember them because they don't stick. And why don't they stick? Because it's not personalized. I'm not asking you to pour your whole heart out on LinkedIn, but what I am asking you to do is to customize it. Share a little bit more information. Share some sticky information, something that people will remember. For instance, my company just went through a reorg, and unfortunately my position was eliminated. It's a really difficult time of year, and I would greatly appreciate if you could keep your eyes and ears open for any opportunities in. I don't want you to state your title because they can see that on LinkedIn. I want you to put your field of expertise, because every company has similar functions. They may call it something different and have different job titles. So I don't want you to restrict yourself. I hope that this video was helpful. And if you have any specific questions about your situation, drop them in the comments box below. I'm more than happy to answer them. And for those who require some additional guidance, I'll include a link in the description box below. The reason for the creation of this video is a number of former colleagues of mine were impacted by a recent RIF, and several people have reached out to me. So I thought that this video would help the greater all about some insights regarding their severance agreement and the steps to take of what to do next. So again, hopefully this video helped, and drop your questions in the comments box below.